families affected with corona and everybody is happy here. So please take care. Let us start the so here I am with the session on lean startup, and I'll be presenting with you my experiences plus whatever I have learned in my journey in a startup. Although there is n number of things that includes in a startup journey, n number of things. Everybody's experience differs from what kind of product you are going in your startup, what team you have, how many people are there, what are their views, what is the customer that you are working for. So I will just try to give you all of it in 1 hour today. So let's understand what is lean. So what is lean? Lean is slim, to be very true. So when it's something is slim, it can get into it can get into any kind of accommodate itself, get into that kind of area. And also lean means that a person is fragile. You can if you are lean, you are fragile, you are quick, you are active, you can do things in a quickly. And if a fat person is there, then it takes time to do something. It is just a vague example of what lean is. So in our to understand better, so it is a core idea to maximize the customer's value while minimizing waste. What is waste? Waste is can be anything like money waste, resources waste, or even the waste of time is considered as minimizing that kind of waste while doing your startup. And maximizing your customers value, so simply lean means creating more value for customers with fewer resources, because when you are starting a company, you have a very fewer resources, you don't have everything in place, or you don't have too much of money to to play around with. So in that case, this is lean in when it comes to a startup journey. So you have to understand the customer's value, focus on their key processes. So this is what lean as a lean startup. But what is lean startup? uh, Lean startup is a methodology for developing businesses and products that aims to shorten product development cycle and rapidly discover if a product proposed business model is viable. This is achieved by adopting a combination of business hypothesis, driven experiments, product releases, and validated learning. Central to the lean startup methodology is the assumption that when startup companies invest their time into building products or services to meet the needs of early consumers, the company can reduce market risk and sidestep the need for large amount of initial project funding and expect expensive product launches and failures. The lean startup idea blossomed into a global movement. Entrepreneurs began performing local in-person groups and to discuss about and apply lean startup ideas. These are now organized communities of practice in more than 100 countries. Generation of founders who are hungry for ideas, but how to build a successful companies. So thousands of entrepreneurs are building lean startup principles to work in every conceivable industries. So what is this? So this is the brief about what a lean startup is. This is the definition of lean startup. It teaches you to how to drive a startup, how to steer, when to turn, and when to perceive and grow a business with maximizing acceleration. So basically it is like you have an idea, you have a vision, you steer it to go to that vision. It means sitting on a steering and then accelerating, accelerating your car to reach that destination. I will brief about it in little while. So the lean startup methods, there are basically five major methods in lean startup. First is entrepreneurs are everywhere. So you don't have to work in a garage to be in a startup. The concept of entrepreneurship includes anyone who work within a definition of a startup, a human institution designed to create new products and services under conditions of extreme uncertainty. This means entrepreneurs are everywhere, and the lean startup approach can work in any size company, even a very large enterprise, uh, in any sector or in any industry. The second one that we are talking about is entrepreneurship is management. So if you have why people go more for management institutes, or why they want to learn about management, because management is a key to enterprise. A startup is an institution, not just a product. So it requires a new kind of management, especially geared to its context of extreme uncertainty. In fact, as I will talk to you about more about entrepreneur. If you need to know more about it, it should be entrepreneurship should be considered as a job title, not as not in the modern companies, not that that depends on the innovation for their future growth. Third is validated learning. Startup exists not just to make stuff, like startup is not there just to make a product or a service, or to make money, or to serve the customers. They exist to learn how to build a sustainable business. This learning can be validated scientifically by running frequent experiments and allow entrepreneurs to test each element of their vision. Then we have build, measure, and learn. Build, measure, and learn. So this is a graph. I will just show it in the next slide. The fundamental activities of a startup is to turn their ideas into products. So what is your idea? What do you want to do? Supposingly, I ask you what exactly is your idea. You come up with your idea. So your idea is basically your product. That is what you want to do. Then you measure how customers respond. You will try to understand. You will measure it, that how your customers, who are your customers, and how is their response, or how are their response in a feedback form. And then you will learn whether to pivot or to preserve. In the sense means, you have to carry with the same intents that you are carrying the startup journey, or you need some changes that needs to be done. All successful startup processes should be geared to accelerate that feedback loop. Once you have that feedback loop, you need to accelerate it. Next is innovation accounting. So to improve entrepreneurs outcome and hold innovators accountable, you need to focus to the boring stuff. How to measure progress, how to set up a milestone, how to prioritize my work. This requires a new kind of accounting designed for startups and to the people who hold them accountable. So these are the major 5 methods for a lean startup. This is really very important for you to understand this. Entrepreneurs are everywhere. We know everybody is an entrepreneur these days. Entrepreneurship is management. If you can manage things perfectly well, you can manage your own startup. Validated learning is very important, because sometimes people um, tend to avoid, or they think that no, what I am saying is right. If I'm saying my product is right, it is right. So you need to learn from the customers feedback, from your colleagues, from your company partners, what is you're learning. And in the process also, you will see that if the product is doing well or it is not doing well. So validate your learning. Then comes build, measure, learn. You build a product, you measure the product, and you keep learning. This process actually goes on and on and on. Then you have innovation accounting. So again, that is a very important aspect to look at. Most of the times people say that we started something and it didn't work out, why my startup failed. So there are a lot of reasons why a startup could fail. So if you look into the slide, it's like no money, poor timing, poor team, poor product, no customers, competition, lack of focus, bad location, not profitable, burned out, legal problems. So there could be a lot of reasons why the startups actually fail. So the first problem is the allure of good plan, a solid strategy, and thorough market research. In earlier eras, when we were doing traditional, these things were indicators of likely success. The overwhelming temptation is to apply them to startups too. But This doesn't work. So because startups operate with too much of uncertainty, you have an idea, you are working towards it. It is not necessary that your idea will work out. Your idea is your idea because you are thinking on that, on that area, that yes, if I have this problem, if somebody doesn't have a have if somebody has a problem with iOS, they invented Android, which is more simpler. Maybe something more simpler will come tomorrow. So it is just an idea, but it can work, it cannot work. So most of the startups actually operate with too much of uncertainty. There is no certainty that it will work. You have a problem doesn't mean that the entire community has a problem. You need to go and find out what customers want, not what you want. So startups do not yet know who their customer is or what their product should be. As the world becomes more uncertain, it actually gets harder and harder to predict what is going to come in the future. So the old management methods are not up to the task. The way the people were working in a in a old traditional way was are not the they're not up to the task. They're just following um, the same thing. There is nothing new, there's nothing great that is happening there. Planning and forecasting are only accurate when based on a stable operating history and a relatively static environment. Startups have neither. So, the second problem is that seeing traditional management fail to solve this problem, some entrepreneurs and investors have thrown up literally in their hands and adopted to just do it start. Just do it just do it is the funda of their startup. This 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 startup of doing do just do it school believes that if management is the problem, chaos is the answer. Unfortunately, as I can attest firsthand, it doesn't work either. It may seem counterintuitive to think that something as disruptive, innovative, chaotic as a startup can be managed or can be accurate, must be managed. Most people think of process and management as boring and dull, whereas startups are very dynamic and exciting. It just brings out the new you in you, because there is a new product that you are so attached to, so you're very excited and dynamic about it. You really want to do it, you really want it to become a success. But what actually exciting is to see the startup succeed and change the world. So how change the world? By fulfilling the requirement of the ultimate customers. The passion, energy and vision that people bring to these new ventures are resources too precious to waste. We can and must do better. Okay, next we have lean startup overview. So basically, a startup goes through these three phases. There is a vision, there is a steer, and then there is an accelerate. So within vision, there are terms like start, define, learn, experiment, which you can learn in in maybe another sessions when we discuss in detail about it in some other time maybe. Steer is like leap, test, measure, pivot, or preserve. Then accelerate is batch, growth, adapt, innovate. I will be talking about a few of them um, in this session so you can understand. So vision make the case for a new discipline. Vision makes the case of a new discipline of entrepreneurial management. I identify who is an entrepreneur, define his startup, and articulate a new way for startup to goals if they are making progress. This is called validated learning. To achieve that learning, we'll see that startup in a garage or inside an enterprise can use scientific experiments to discover how to build a sustainable business. Steer. It drives you into the lean startup method in detail, showing one major turn through the core: build, measure, learn, feedback loop. So, beginning with leap of faith assumptions that cry out for rigorous testing to learn how to build a minimum viable product to test those assumptions. A new accounting system for evaluating whether you are making progress, or a method of deciding whether to pivot. What is pivot? Pivot is changing course with one foot anchored to the ground, or preserve. In Accelerate, we explore techniques that enables lean startup to speed through the build, measure, learn feedback loop as quickly as possible, even when they scale. We'll explore lean manufacturing concepts that are applicable to startups too, such as the power of small batches, and these all comes into accelerate. We also discuss organizational designs, how products grows, and how to apply lean startup principles beyond the proverbial garage, even inside the world's largest companies. So now, you know, what are the process that a lean startup goes through. So the lean startup method is contrast to in contrast, and is designed to teach how to drive a startup. Uh, Instead of making complex plans that are based on a lot of assumptions, you can make constant adjustments. With steering wheels called the build, measure, learn feedback loop. Through this process of steering, we can learn how if it's time to make a sharp turn called a pivot, or whether we should preserve along our current path. So whether we need to change our path, or we can stay in the same path that we decided earlier. We preserve that path. So once we have our engine that's revved up, the lean startup offers methods to scale and grow the business with maximum acceleration. So throughout the process of driving, you always have a clear idea of where you are going. So you have that is your vision, where you are going. So if you are communicating to work, you don't have to give up because there's a turn in the there's a traffic in the road maybe, or you take a wrong turn. You remain thoroughly focused on getting on your destination. Startups also have a destination in mind. You know what is your idea, what is your product, what have you to do. That is your vision. You're going there. Sitting on a car, that is steering taking. You have to take a bike to that work. You have to take a car. Is there a petrol in the car? Is the servicing done? Am I going to stuck? So that is how the process of the this is the building up your startup. So you remain thoroughly focused on getting on your destination. Startups also have a destination in mind, so that I've already discussed. It's like we call that a startup vision. That is my journey. This that is the place that I want to go. And to achieve that vision, startups employ a strategy, which includes a business model, a product roadmap, a point of view about partner and competitors. Who is my competitor right now? That is very important, because if you already are your product is already there in the market, you have a competitor who is already in serving that kind of product, and who already is there, already has a set number of customers. How are we going to make our product more viable for them to buy, or how are we going to make them buy our product, the customers? The product is the actually the end result of this strategy. What is your strategy? So about Pizza Hut was one of the first pizzas that came to India. Then came Domino's. What was their strategy? Their strategy was to, we saw it on the television every time. The strategy was 30 minutes or free. This was the strategy that they were following, and it actually worked. And this strategy of their actually worked. People got so inclined towards, there are so many funny ad. They made such a funny ad with them that I will hide so that the pizza guy does not deliver it to me, or I'm not at home. So that became a fun side of buying. But believe me, a lot of people bought 30 minutes, and still there are a lot of people who buy it and claim it that yeah, it was delivered late due to some maybe some reasons. Sometimes it is. So this is their strategy to get into the market and to get into the customers hold. They've actually got a good customer hold with that strategy. Product change constantly through the process of optimization, which is called turning the engine. Less frequently the strategy may have to change. Then when a strategy needs to be changed, it is called pivot. When we change the strategy. So I hope this is clear. I will be talking about hypothesis again. When you say define hypothesis, then we have measure, and then we have learn. So when you measure the market, you measure the values. Second, so market research and value propositions and feedback. Then you have refined research questions. You learn, and then you you learn from your mistakes if there are any, then you make a change in your startup. Yes, this needs to be changed, I need to follow the other strategy, that is called pivot. Again, you change this, you take a different route to your going to your vision. Then in that case, you work, you keep learning, and you keep doing that until you learn. Now, I will give you a very good example of Village Laundry Center. I don't know if you people already know about it. Village Laundry Center is was a startup. It started sometime in 2008-9. This was the Akshay Mehra. He came to India after working at Procter and Gamble, Singapore. He was working there for 8 years. So he sensed an opportunity. He came to Bangalore as a brand manager for Tide and Pantene brands for India and Asian countries. He thought he could make laundry services available to people who previously could not afford them. Then, returning to India, Akshay joined the Village Laundry Services, created by Inside Ventures, I think. Yeah, VLS began a series of experiments to test his business assumptions. Now, why did he actually thought of making a business assumption? He thought of making a business assumption because when he came there, he realized that people not everybody had a washing machine at home, and not everybody can afford to have a washing machine at home. So he um, he thought that, okay, fine, if people do not have it. So he actually made a series of experiments to test his business assumptions. What did he do exactly? So for the first example experiment, he mounted a customer grade laundry machine on the back of a pickup truck parked on the street's corner in Bangalore. The experiment cost to around 5.5 lakh rupees, and had a simple goal of providing that people would hand over their laundry to they hand over their laundry and pay to get cleaned, because in 2008-9 not everybody had a washing machine in Bangalore. There was a lot of problem. The dhobis used to take the garments to wash and then return it, but they used to take approximately a week or so. So he realized that there is a market for that. So he they did not actually clean the laundry in the truck, but they made the customers believe that they're whatever they're doing inside the truck only. And which was more of a marketing actually, so that this truck had a big banner and everything. And this banner. And what they were actually doing is that they were taking the truck of the offside, and they used to clean the clothes and get it by the end of the day. So the team keep experimenting for weeks, and they used to park the truck on different corners. So they used to understand what are their potential customers. They wanted to know how they would encourage people to come to the truck. They had to come to the truck and give the clothes. They won't go to their home. So did the cleaning speed mattered to the customers? What was cleanliness a concern? What were people asking for when they felt their laundry was with them? So they discovered that customers were happy to give them their laundry and clean it. However, those customers were auspicious also, like, are they actually cleaning the garments or the clothes inside the truck, or they are taking it? They were not very sure. So but then it hardly mattered to them, as far as they were getting the delivery before. Adobe used to give it, like, is the Adobe's time was 7 days, but they were giving it within a day, like, to give it in the morning and they can take it in the evening. So the address more concern, what they did was, they started making a small kiosk at different locations. There they actually made, mini market chain in the mini market chains. So they literally figured out which services were the most interested in, and what price they were willing to pay. It was very important that what price the customers are actually happy to pay. So they discovered that customers often wanted their clothes to be ironed as well. When they are washing it, they also wanted them to be ironed, and willing to pay double the price they get for the laundry back in 4 hours. So basically, he found out that there is a customer, and there is a need, and there is a customer, and there are customers who are ready to pay double the price if the products, their garments are ironed as well, so that it is ready for them to wear it. And if they get it within 4 hours, it is nothing like it. So he actually um, uh, he actually made, these kiosk in different locations with a very high grade, imported washing powders he used. A dryer was there, and the cord was extended. So these are the things that he did, and he grew substantially. They have now more than 14 locations which are operational in Bangalore, Mysore, and Mumbai. So, what has now the CEO Akshay Mehra has to what he said? He said that in his words, he said that he has served more than 1 lakh, 2 lakh kgs in 2010, whereas in 2009 they were only able to do 30,600 kgs. So there was a 60% of a business coming from repeat customers. So he said that he has served more than 10,000 customers in the past year alone across all the outlets. So what did he see? He did not see what he wanted. He saw that what people wanted, what was the need, what is the need of a customer, and then he started with a lean because he was experimenting it actually. So first do this, one step at a time. He was experimenting. Oh, this is not working, then this is not working, then let's try this. So, and but they whatever was happening, it just happened within, just imagine, in 2008 he came to India, and 2009 he was already working. He had set his foot there and was already doing business. So when you talk about lean business, this is the most important point. So I hope you understood that what exactly I'm trying to explain in that example was that there was a market, there were people staying there, but they did not realize that there was a market. This guy comes in, he faces the same challenges. He thinks about it. He goes with an idea. He thinks about it. How to he saw that there was a major problem. What he saw was a problem. So what he did was he found a solution to that problem. After finding the solution to that problem, he made a a document on how he can go about it. He made a lean canvas. You can Google about it also. Lean canvas is very important. So what is the problem, what is the solution, how we can go about it, what are the changes we can make, how will our customer respond. Most of the time in a lean startup, you have to make a prototype. You might need to make a prototype. You should make a prototype and distribute it between your friends and your family members to see how it is working. Take their feedback on those things. So this is the next thing. Now we have how vision leads to steering. So now you have a vision. You know that this is my product, and this is what I want to do. So um, at its heart, a startup is actually a catalyst that transforms India ideas into products. As customer reacts with those products, they generate feedback and data. I have seen that. I Just take an example of a movie. You go and see a movie. You see a movie. You give a product feedback. Yeah, it's worth watching. It is not worth watching. Don't go for it. So the feedback can be both qualitative, which is like, whether they liked it or they don't liked it, or quantitative. How? Because how many people actually went to theater to see that movie. So how many people used it and find it valuable. So the product a startup builds are experiments. The learning about how to build a sustainable business is the outcome of these experiments. For startup, that information is much more important than any awards because it can influence and reshape the next set of ideas. We can visualize this three-step process with this simple diagram of build, measure, learn, which is the core of the lean startup. Plenty of entrepreneurs focus their energies on the product idea or best design initial product, or obsessing over data and metrics. The truth is that none of these activities are the paramount importance. Instead, we need to focus on maximizing the total time through this feedback loop. This is the essence of steering a startup. Our focus is based on validated learning. Aapne, what have you learned? We can avoid much of the waste and plague startup today. So what we need to understand that we need to understand that we need to have to reach it, to make a product. There should be a minimum of waste. That is very important. Optimizing is good, having good customers is good, but minimizing waste is very important, because once a time, money, energy has gone, you cannot bring it back. As in lean manufacturing, learning where and when to invest your energy results in saving your time and money. To apply the scientific method to a startup, we need to identify which hypothesis to test. It is the riskiest element of the startup's plan, the parts on which everything depends. leap of faith assumptions. The two most important assumptions are the value hypothesis and the growth hypothesis. They give rise to turning variables and control a startup engine of growth. The first step to enter the build phase as quickly as possible with a minimum viable product. What is a minimum viable product? Minimum viable product is that version of the product that enables a full turn of a build, measure, learn loop with a minimum amount of effort and the least amount of development time. The minimum viable product lacks many features in the beginning and may prove essential later on. So, however, in some ways, creating a MVP, that is minimum viable product, requires extra work. We might be able to measure its impact. For example, it is inadequate to build a product inadequate to build a prototype that is evaluated solely for internal quality by engineers and designers. We also need to get it in front of the potential customers to cause their reaction. We may even need to try selling them the protocol, as I told you, for the real time feedback. Your people will give you the first protocol that you give to your family, or they will give you a real time feedback. We may even need to try selling those prototypes for real time feedback. Sometimes we need to sell them as well. When we enter the measure phase, the biggest challenge will be determining whether the product development efforts are leading to real progress. Remember, if you are building something that nobody wants, it doesn't matter if you are doing it on time or on budget. What people want is important. If you are making something which there is no market, there is no customer for it, whatever you're doing is waste. Your time is waste, your money is waste, your everything is waste. So finally, the most important, there's a pivot. Upon completing the build, measure, learn loop, we confront the most important question any entrepreneur faces: whether to pivot the original strategy or preserve. If we have discovered that one of our hypotheses is false, it is time to make a change to a new strategy hypothesis. The lean startup method builds capital effective companies because it allows startups to recognize that it's time to pivot sooner, creating less waste of time and money. Although we write the feedback loop, build, measure, learn, because the activity happens in that order, our planning really works in the reverse order. We figure out what we need to learn, use innovative accounting to figure out that, and we need to measure it to know if it was gaining validated learning, and then figure out what product we need to build to run that experiment and get that measurement. So I hope this is clear. Whatever the questions is that we can answer in later after this is finished. So I will just like to give you feedback on my startup. When I started my journey as a entrepreneur, there were n number of problems. So what I did was that we started with using and doing this vegetables uh, business in farm to kitchen. We started with the fruits and vegetables. Then came another person who says, why don't you add food into it, grocery item? Somebody who's buying potatoes, tomatoes, if they get their pulses and rice and wheat in the same place, it will be easy for them. Fine, yeah, we included that. So basically, we kept changing our strategy. Yeah, okay, we'll do this, we'll do that. And then finally we reached a level where we thought that no, we need our own brand label, because initially we did not had our own brand label products to sell through online business or offline business. But then we gradually realized that people want to see your product. You are selling somebody's L product. That is okay if it is a marketplace, but ours is not a marketplace. So if it is not a marketplace, you are doing your business, you need to have your product. Now your product comes online. My product is organic, will people buy it? No, people generally have this thing of feeling, why is your rice so highly priced, whereas the other competitors have it as low as 60 rupees per kg, yours is 140 rupees per kg. So I need to explain them that this is organic, this is how it is coming from, this is the backstory. But not everybody is educated enough to understand the basic the basic difference between the two. Moreover, not only educated, they are not even interested, because they think that Yes, this is also fine, that is also fine. Arar dal, the tur dal looks yellow no matter what dal, what, whether it is natural or it is conventional or it is organic. So it takes a hard time to make people understand, though when we have started this with health journey, people have actually understanding that it makes a difference. But how does it make a difference? I will tell you. It make a difference only after tasting it. You cannot make a difference when you cook that product and then you realize that this is unaltered and the taste is so awful, so awesome, sorry, that you want to really want to have that, and you go back to your basics, like your dadi and nani used to cook, because that those were the times when we used to eat organic. So here is this chart which talks about build, measure, learn. Build your idea into a product, measure it, how the customers are responding in a qualitative and a quantitative way, and then learn whether it is working or not working. You need to make some changes, you don't need to make some changes, and you go ahead with that. Okay, so now we go to our next slide, which is called product launch. Well, product launch is also known at in this term here is also called as accelerating. So one of the most expensive form of potential waste for startup is spending time arguing how about to prioritize new development when it has the product on the market. At any time, the product could invest its energy in finding new customers, servicing existing customers better, improving overall quality, or driving down cost. So in my experience, the discussion about these kind of priority decisions can consume a lot of so we will talk in detail about the three engines of growth. So there are three types of engines that we are discussing about here. The first one is the sticky engine. When we say growth, it means accelerate. So we are on the third phase. Vision is there, steering is there, you saw the feedback, the customers, how you are going to go about it. If there is some changes that you need to make, you will do your prototype, you will check the customers views. Then comes this the acceleration part. Now there are three engines which are basically called upon in accelerate. The first one is the sticky engine. So in the sticky engine, the idea is to become the number one shopping destination. And there are people who are constantly hunting for the latest items and best deals. If the company's product worked as designed, customers who start using it will check constantly and repeatedly to see if new items are there for sale. So if you talk about Mintra and all, so you keep on checking. Once they give you a date that yes, now Diwali is coming, everybody is now focusing on Diwali. Okay, we'll buy it in Diwali sale, because everybody knows that there will be a Diwali sale and there will be a lot of competitions. The first few pages of the newspapers will be full of all the ads, which company is giving what kind of what kind of sales and what kind of discounts, basically. So basically sticking means you make this customer stick to your product, so that that person keep coming back. So company is using the stick engine of growth track their attrition rate, a churn rate. Very they have to actually track their attrition rate and churn rate very carefully. The churn rate is defined as the fraction of customers in any period who fail to remain engaged with the company product, which means that there was customer registration, but it did not come into a order. So there was a company, you are selling online, there are so many people who registered with your company, with your website, but nobody actually bought it from you. So that is very important. You are gaining customers, but you are gaining the registration, but you're not that registration is not converting into the end customers. The rule that governs the sticky engine of growth are pretty simple. If the rate of new customer acquisition exceeds the churn rate, the product will grow. So if what is every company has there's a rate of there's a price that comes with a customer acquisition, that we come where that actually comes into price engine. But there's always a price which is people use. These days people go up to 1000 to 2000 rupees for one customer acquisition. But if that exceeds the churn rate, if the customer are actually buying it, rather than the registration is 100 and the customer acquisition is 120, so the churn rate is zero, in fact minus, so the product will grow, there will be a growth in the product. Then comes the virality engine, just like viral, corona viral. So you have to make your product viral. How are you going to make it viral? That depends upon the major person to make it viral is your own customers. How awareness of the products actually spreads rapidly from one person to another person, similar to the way this virus is spreading like an epidemic. This is distinct from a simple word of mouth growth discussion discussed. So this is not just like one says that this is very nice, you can go and see. So products that exhibit viral growth depends on person to person transmission as a necessary consequence of normal product use. Customers actually do not intentionally act like an evangelist. They are not necessarily trying to spread the word about the product. They are simply exhibiting viral growth as a necessary consequence of normal product use. Some cases. Then comes the price engine. Imagine there are two businesses. So the first one makes rupees 100 on each customer it signs up. The other makes 10,000 for each customer it signs up. To predict which company will grow faster, you need to know only one additional thing: how much it costs to sign up for a new customer. If a new customer joins you, what was your customer acquisition cost? That is very important. If the customer acquisition cost is going high and the product is not selling, your business is not going to work. You need to think of other strategies, how you can, other ways. There's a complete session you can have on how you can do marketing and how you can affect on the customer acquisition cost, because that is very important. So these are the majorly three growth engines, that is being sticky engine, virality engine, and the price engine. This is very important. Next we talk about this is just a okay, here I have given one slide. This will just brief you about the entire lean startup, how we go about it, what all things are required in a startup, how does it work, what is the workflow.
Ma'am, can you give some real life example, maybe from your own startup, of the pivot and preserve? I'm still taking my head around that. What is the pivot and preserve? How that exactly mean in the real life business?
Okay, I'll give you two examples about these. Okay, one is a
Yep.
simple example where supposedly you are a person, you have to go to a certain destination. Okay, so that destination is your vision. Okay, you want to go there. So supposedly you're going to an office, that office is your destination, that is your vision. Now how will you go there? Your preparation, like you are sitting in a car, you want to go by a car, or you go by a bike, or you have made all your adjustments, right? Now you are ready to go to your office. So when you're going towards your office, supposedly there's a traffic jam. Okay, but you have to reach to your office. What do? You take a different route,
Okay.
but your destination is same. You're going to a
Hmm.
workplace only. So your route has changed, you have taken a different diversion, and but you're basically you're going to the same place. That is called pivot.
Okay.
So now when we talk of business, supposedly supposing there's a business of let me give you an example of uh, as I said, the strategy, you change the strategy, you change a pivot, you go to a
Okay.
different strategy, and you experiment that, then it is another pivot. Then maybe that also didn't work. So you
Okay.
change your strategy again. So pivot keeps happening.
Okay.
That
Okay.
what does that depend on? The customer. Why is the
Okay.
customer not buying? But you should never make two pivots at a time. When I say two pivots, there's a company, okay, they are not getting enough customers. So what they did was that they had a customer, they actually, what they did, they changed their advertising completely, okay,
Mm-hmm.
and then they brought down the price from 100 to 90 rupees. So
Mm-hmm.
now it worked. Now there is a confusion, which hypothesis actually
Yeah.
worked, which
Okay.
one actually worked. So you should not make too much of changes at one go, just make
Good.
one thing at a time.
Yeah.
So I hope this is clear now, the
Yeah.
pivot.
Pivot is good now. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. And the preserve is a completely abandoning the target, is it, or the objective? Is that mean preserve?
Preserve means you preserve that place, you stay at that place thinking that yes, this traffic will go and then I will move ahead with the same ideology.
Oh, okay, okay, okay. Yeah, got it. Yeah. Mhm.
Okay. So
Yeah.
in
But
the
is it advisable? Means the preserving is it advisable, or because it is so fast moving world? I
Mhm.
think pivot make more sense. Means you have better experience. So just trying to hear from you, is preserve is the right strategy, or more often pivoting is more better strategy than the preserve?
See, that depends upon your work. Supposedly, you have not reached enough customer. Making pivot,
Mhm.
you need to reach a lot of good customer
Okay,
feedback. So you just
okay.
can't. Supposedly, you
Keep
are selling
jumping, yeah.
exactly. Supposedly, you are making something for a female, and you are now targeting your customers as male. Will it
Yeah.
work? Now I'll tell you something very this thing. What I did was that when I was working,
Mm-hmm.
when I did my startup, I was targeting females in my
Mm-hmm.
all my marketing strategy. So what
Mm-hmm.
actually happened is that I went to this marketplace, and there was, I wanted to understand, and I was just saw a couple
Mm-hmm.
where the wife said, "Should we start eating organic? See, this is very good. This that." The husband
Mm-hmm.
said no,
The
and they
decision
moved.
maker was husband.
Exactly. So my target, I was doing it wrong. So I need to
Okay.
preserve weight and change my target.
Okay.
So now I'm
Okay.
targeting all the male,
Okay. Yeah. Yeah.
because
Yeah.
actually
The
spending
decision
money,
makers basically, yeah.
exactly,
Work.
the
Yeah.
when you are spending money, even if it is at comes to grocery, it is the
Mm-hmm.
male generally who
Mm-hmm.
actually gives excess, unless and until the female is also working. So
Mm-hmm.
if she's working, she can order, maybe, I don't know, I'm
Mm-hmm.
not sure.
Mm-hmm.
But if she's a housewife, she has to adjust and understand how much is, how much is their budget for a month, which they can.
Okay. The basic hypothesis was not correct, so you just have to adjust and preserve your idea, but still
Exactly,
wait for
but
more data. Yeah.
change my
Yeah.
customer targeting customer for marketing.
Yeah. Okay. Thank you,
So
man. This is helpful.
thank you. So the practice of lean startup is barely a decision old. Okay, so but it's still here and it is going to stay. The lean startup is going to stay. Lean represents a radical and alternative path to innovation. So its effectiveness is being proven every day in the private sector, as well as new companies that uses lean startup techniques and find to drive astonishing changes in commerce. So more and more, non-profit organizations and even government agencies are now falling into this lean startup strategies. They are also trying it. So to build a business successful, you need to learn several things. Few of these are the problem or passion to address. There has to be a problem, and there has to be a passion to do something about that problem. Then you should have a solution for that problem. For whom to provide it? Segment by segment. Who are your customers? Whom are you giving it? How to market that set to that segment? How are you going to reach? No customer is coming and asking you in person, "Oh, what are you making? I want to see." You need to go to the market, to the segment, and then how you have to sell it to that segment. How to turn a customer into an advocate? Why advocate? Because advocate is finally judging all the time. So he will judge. Let the customer judge. Take a proper feedback. Then comes how to scale your segment. How are you going to grow? And then again, you need to innovate something. See, when any even if when it comes to food, say Domino's or burger. Okay, let's take MacD. Okay, have you noticed that within 1 or 2 years they have added so many other things in their menu? So it's not that they were not making profit while they were just doing burgers or fries. They were doing marginal, great, business, and they were earning very well, but they keep adding. So this innovation has to come up every time, because if you're doing something innovative, more customers, yeah, they are now giving wraps also, now they are giving some rice bowls also, let's go and have that. So there are there they the innovation doesn't end when it comes to a startup. So here, I would like to conclude on my lean startup journey with you all, because to be very true, it's a very long journey, and it's a very long journey. And you have any questions, you can always email me. That my email ID is seema@lifecoachseema.com, which I generally use. So you can drop me an email if you have any query. For other things, if there is any questions, please feel free to ask.
Ma'am, your
Yes,
last slide says persevere instead of preserve. So I just wanted to know, is it persevere or is it preserve? Because both mean completely
Preserve,
different things.
preserve.
Okay, your last slide said persevere. So I was a little confused.
Okay.
Second last slide.
Okay,
Thank
I'll
you.
just check that. Yeah.
thank you, ma'am. Thank you. Any other questions from the participants? We can have one, two questions we can answer.
Thank you. It was very enlightening session. Thank you. Quite a good from real life examples and real life experience. Thank you for that, your sharing.
Thank you.
Thank you. I think, ma'am, it's a very fruitful session, and thank you, ma'am, for sharing your expertise.
Thank you so much, Rahul.
Thank you, ma'am.
Okay. So we take leave now.
Yes, ma'am. Yes.
Okay. Thank you so much, everyone, for being here.
Thank you.
Thank you. Bye. Have a nice day.
Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you.
Uh, So, as we concluded with the first session, our second session today scheduled will be taken by Miss Puneet Sethi, ma'am. Ma'am has already joined us here on the platform. I welcome you, ma'am. Ma'am, you are muted, ma'am. Actually, you your mic is muted. Yes,
Okay.
ma'am.
Am I audible and visible now?
Yes, ma'am. Very much audible and visible. Yes.
Thank you.
So let me give you a short introduction for viewers, then ma'am it will be all your session, ma'am. Yes. So receptionist or recipient of national award in the category of role model instituted by Ministry of Social Justice, Ms. Puneet Sethi has overcome the challenges of visual impairment to mainstream herself in a professional industry. In over 30-year career, Puneet Sethi has experience as a teacher, front office and communication manager, creative writer, trainer across leading educational institutions, non-profit and media organizations. Her voice modulation and expression enabled her features in various programs aired on All India Radio and Prime FM channels. She also lent her voice for several education-based films. Her friends call her woman of substance and an inspiration, and that is how she would like to be known and remembered. Miss Puneet Sethi is 100% visually impaired. She started losing her vision at the young age of 25, which transformed her life completely. But her optimistic attitude and perseverance to overcome the challenges never let her disability affect her abilities. The Playhouse Pre-Nursery was her first entrepreneurial venture when she founded her at the dusk of her life and she began losing her sight, which was believed and would lead to a new dawn in some years down. As she patiently trod her path to success, she made it point to motivate others towards believing that disability is not the end of world. Ms. Puneet is popular prominent of rights for people with disability, disseminating crucial information to the people with visual impairment and sanitizing the mainstream society towards the ability of person with visual disabilities. Recognizing her efforts and achievements, she was honored with National Award instituted by Ministry of Social Justice as a role model for the year 2012 presented by Honorable Vice President of India, Shri Pranab Mukherjee, sir. For her steadfast performance in life, she was also received an IVH Excellence Award 2013 instituted by National Institute for Visually Handicapped, Dehradun. Ms. Puneet Sethi believes in saying never say die. So I welcome you, ma'am, for your session here. Now,
Thank you.
I
Thank you.
request all the participants to stay on muted on mode only, so session can be go in a smooth manner. Yes.
Um, good evening to all, and I hope I'm audible to everybody.
Yes.
My name is Guneet Sethi, and I'm grateful to all the esteemed staff members and the organizers of this session for having invited me to be a part of your training course. So I'm here not to give you a very technical know-how about the startups, because I'm sure you have a lot of knowledge sharing with the professionals and really those who know the nitty-gritties of business. My interaction or my talk with you will be slightly different. And here I'm going to, when I was asked to share my thoughts or address all of you with regard to, startups and, entrepreneurial course that you're doing, I started thinking on what is it that I would have wanted to know if at all I started my entrepreneur. Well, my thoughts went all over the place, but I've tried to put them together and I will share them with you as we move on. And I hope that whatever my thoughts, they align with your thinking and give you some insights on that path that you are planning to move on. So be careful. Listen very carefully when to what I need to say, because it's not a very technical matter. Okay. So let me begin by saying that we as humans have a tremendous potential, and more often than not, we do not use it to its maximum. We all know that, don't we? We also know that if we as humans begin to use our potential to its maximum, then sky is the limit. Having said that, we often get flustered when we are faced with a crisis or a setback. A crisis which could be as small as probably a small problem at our workstation. And God forbid, a setback which could be as big as probably a loss of a life. More often than not, we are unable to cope with it and begin to get irritable, and even our day-to-day activities begin to get impacted. All this because we are not putting in our best, and we all know that once again. Well, when we are talking about potential, let us try to understand how we can overcome these big and small setbacks or challenges that we experience in our daily lives, and also on how can we begin to use our potential to our maximum to achieve our desired success. Now, why did I say desired success? Because success could be different for you and me. For some, success may be just doing regular routine work. But for some, success may be climbing up the ladder of hierarchy. For some, success may be becoming a successful entrepreneur. And for some, success may be literally taking 2 steps. So whatever the perception of your success is, the important thing here is that we need to have a goal. Because we should know where we are heading, or else it'll be as if you're sailing in the middle of an ocean and your oars are taken away. I'm sure none of us want to be in a situation like that. It really sounds scary, isn't it? Well, when we talk about goals or setting our goals, we must remember or even understand that the process of achieving your goals will always be surrounded with limitations that act as spoil sport and put brakes in your path. So I will not be wrong in saying that we all have limitations. So one needs to be conscious of that. Because limitations can be financial, limitations can be academic, limitations can be emotional, limitations can be physical, and something we often tend to overlook is limitations can be all in the mind. So there you are. If you are able to put a finger on your limitation, or in other words, if you're able to recognize your own limitations and you already have a goal, then half your job is done. Because all you need to do now is to focus on your limitations and rise above them. And in doing that, what do? You begin to put your energies into your abilities. It's important that you understand the basis of what I'm trying to say. Here, I'm reminded of a real life story of a marathon runner called Fauja Singh. I wonder if you've heard about him or read about him. Well, Fauja Singh unexpectedly won an international marathon at the age of 100. Yes, at the age of 100. Now, who would expect a 100-year-old man not only cover a distance of 40 kilometers, but also win the race? Understandably, age must have been his biggest limitation. Well, he didn't stop there. 2 years later, he won another Italian marathon. Obviously, reporters, press, media, all of them were all over him trying to understand the secret of all of this. Well, 2 years later, he obliged the world by revealing his secret in an autobiography. And this is what he said. A day before the race, I would travel the whole route of the marathon and check it out. He would mark important points all along the route, such as the first mark would be a bank, the second mark, a tree, the third mark, a red house, and thus marking the entire route. The day the race began, he would strive to reach his first goal, the bank. After arriving at the bank, he would run as fast as he could to reach his second goal, the tree. He broke the entire marathon route into several meaningful, small goals and finished them one by one very easily. He went on to say that he was not aware of this method earlier, and so would often set his goal at the end of 40 kilometers and often get exhausted after 10 kilometers or so, because he used to get frightened at the far off distance of his goal. So, if we take some lessons from Fauja Singh's success, undoubtedly he had a goal to achieve. But his priority was to carve a path to achieve that goal. So he would break the entire path into several short-term goals to achieve his larger goal. Sometimes we fail, not because the goal is too hard, but it seems very far away because we fail to carve a path for it. So, I firmly believe that success can be defined as a progressive realization of a worthy goal. Progressive realization of a worthy goal. By progressive, what do I mean? Progressive is ongoing. It is continuous. And I'm referring to the short-term goals here. So when you have short-term goals, you're in a continuous ongoing process of achieving one goal after the other, one goal after the other. And then realization. Realization is internal. It is a feeling. It is a reflection. So when there is a feeling of achievement, then your energies are always boosted. So here, and so if I may say that an ongoing continuous feeling of achieving your goals is what can be redefined as success. Because whatever you do, the end product is success, isn't it? So to achieve success, there are certain things that we need to keep in mind. Therefore, keeping the definition of success and the story of Fauja Singh in the background, since you are all attending this 3-month entrepreneurial focused course, I presume that becoming an entrepreneur or starting up your own business venture or joining a business venture is probably one of your career options. Well, I'm sure some of you probably have taken a decision, but some of you are still contemplating about the fact that what is your career goal. But whenever or whatever you decide, you need to take that word option or throw it out of the window, because then you have to firmly believe in your goal. And if you are planning to, and if you have decided to become an entrepreneur or to start an entrepreneur or whatever your goal is, then there is no place for option. You have taken a call for that, right? Now, when you decide on your goal, you will begin to, on your own, explore your DNA. You will begin to explore your own DNA, your own talent, your own values, and your competencies. Creating your own adventures, sometimes successful, and you will sometimes be successful or sometimes fall in the prey of the traps of life. You may also experience being pulled back by the systems of family and business and organizations. But what is the challenge here is that how will you break through these vicious patterns to and these vicious patterns may not necessarily be yours. Therefore, you need to be conscious of your goal and be sure of it. And that is why I say that you need to develop a personal bond with your goal and translate your goal into your passion. Because that's when you will begin to feel ownership of your goal. You will begin to feel that bond in your goal. And while doing that, you will also need to create and maintain a strong support system that aligns with your vision, with your passion, with your goal. Now, you must be wondering or notice that I'm going on saying your goal, your passion, your vision. Why? Because you need to have ownership of what you have decided. It is your ownership. And so you have to be ready to work towards your goal, to create a path towards your goal. Because remember, a dream is just a dream. But a goal is a dream with a passion and a vision. So be conscious of that. Another thing, there's this very important, a very famous saying that change is the only constant. And that's true. Because I can tell you for a fact that your life changes when you change. When you go beyond your limiting beliefs. In fact, the magic happens when you move out of your comfort zone. Because at that time, you have to be ready to take that plunge. Grab the opportunities that are there in your plain sight or create them for yourself because you are the owner of your goal. You have to create a path to achieve it. You have to carve a path to achieve your goal. So do not hesitate to create opportunities for yourself. And you will only be able to do it if you develop a personal bond with your goal. Well, there's this very famous ongoing thought that, job is better than doing your own, or setting up your own entrepreneur, job versus your own work, etc., etc. Well, in this course, you will be learning a lot about the technical aspects of it, the risks involved, and whatever nitty-gritties are there, with regard to job versus your own work. But, personally, I have a view on that, and I want to share it with you because I talk about after my own experiences. So when I'm talking about ownership, carving a path, work ethically, well, one can arguably say that when we do a job, we also work with ownership, we also work with ethics, etc., etc. But that's right. You know, when you are doing a job, you are given a job role at the time of your appointment letter, that this is the defined job role that is there for you. And undoubtedly, you work with complete ownership, dedication, and work ethics. But here, you are the owner of your job role. You're the owner of your job role. But when you do a startup, you become the owner of your goal. And you have the authority to carve a path for it. Well, I have to tell you this, that in my opinion, a budding entrepreneur, for a budding entrepreneur, it is my feeling that no matter how have to invest, you have to be sensitive, you have to be empathetic, and you have to invest in whatever the need of the hour is for your people, because these people are your biggest strength, or these people are your greatest assets. And believe you me, it is the strength of the people around you that will, with whom you will be able to leverage your business ventures. So always remember, people are your greatest assets in your business venture. Before I conclude, I want to share a little bit of my personal experience with you. You know, I belong to a totally service family. My parents, my maternal side, my paternal side, we're all a very service-oriented family, mostly from the armed forces. And business, to kahin pe bhi, there's no businessman, or so to say, a businesswoman in our family. So what happened then? You know, when I myself am a teacher by profession and have the experience of working in mainstream public schools for almost 18 years, and I've been happily working till fate struck and I lost my eyesight and also lost my job. Now, how to move on? As I was struggling with my visual impairment, or as I was struggling to cope up with my blindness, simultaneously I was struggling to cope up with the social stigma attached to my disability, and also wondering what to do next, how to move on in life. And that's when you know what, people, you know what, I suddenly I became a person who was viewed as good for nothing. Suddenly, the person who was very efficient became good for nothing. Now, this is something I was not able to accept, or I was not ready to accept. And I was determined that I need to do something for myself. And this was the time when no job was there for me. There was nothing that I could, nobody had the guts to employ a blind person. Now, what to do? So something struck me and I thought, well, since teaching is my passion, I want to start my own little school. With no business experience, with very little, hardly any support system, I decided that I want to start a school. And like I said, I translated my vision into my passion. And when that passion, and then of course, I developed a personal bond with my passion and then began to create a solid support system so that my support system can align with my passion. And it was not an easy task because, you know, to convince your parents, your well-wishers, and obviously with no business experience and very little money to invest, I must say. But वो कहते हैं ना कि अगर इरादे नेक हों तो रास्ते तो निकल ही आते हैं. And that's exactly what happened. My passion and my determination and my vision to create a solid support system made it happen. Before I knew it, I got a place, I got people to invest, I got well-wishers and friends to come and teach in my school, and it's been almost 20 years that my little play nursery school is still active and is buzzing with children. Of course, it's pandemic and it's Corona times now, and that's a different story. But like I said, my vision translated into my successful venture of my goal. The reason why I shared my story was that challenges can occur in everyone's life. Challenges can occur in everyone's life and they come very unexpectedly. But we all can become successful by bringing positivity and productivity into our lives. By bringing positivity and productivity into our lives. And believe you me, if you begin to put your energies into what you think is most worthwhile, your inner belief system grows, and then sky is the limit. Really, because there is only one person who can put limits to your growth, and that is you and you alone. Because you have to remember that you are the only person who can revolutionize your life. You are the only person who's responsible for your happiness, your realization, and your growth. Your life changes when you change. Like I said, you have to remember that it is not what you eat, but what you digest makes you healthy. It is not what you earn, but what you save makes you rich. It is not what you learn, but what you remember makes you ready for success. And your success can only be achieved if you carve a path and implement your action plan. And believe you me, your desire to succeed in life will always push you ahead of any adversities and challenges that come your way. And if you are going to start up your venture, you need to remember that developing a personal bond is the most important thing. Only then can you carve a path to achieve it. So here's wishing you the very best as you move on to achieve heights of success, and wishing you the best in all your endeavors. Thank you. Thank you very much. And any of you have any questions to my thoughts, I'm ready to answer them.
Thank you, ma'am. Thank you. Now I request if any participants want to share any of their views or anything, you are most welcome. You are invited to share your experience or any question if asked by ma'am.
Any student of IGDTW, if you have any questions, please feel free to ask ma'am.
So I'm not online with them, right? They're all muted, isn't it?
Yes, ma'am, they are muted, but they can unmute themselves. Our CEO for the IGDTW Anveshan Foundation, Dr. V.K. Roda sir, have also joined your session and is now online with us.
Good evening, ma'am.
Good evening, Professor Roda.
How are you, ma'am? How are you, ma'am? How are you?
I'm well, sir. I'm very well. Thank you so much.
It's a great personality, and I am thankful to our Professor Jasdeep Kaur Dhanua, ma'am, as she has introduced me with you, and learning from your experience means I was just listening.
Thank you so much.
Motivational and especially entrepreneurial motivational, it is very important. I request all the participants to understand this concept that in the journey of entrepreneurship, especially in developing countries in India, journey is not very easy. So you will have to work hard, and many times it is seen that we work on our IQ, that is intelligent quotient. We also work on emotional quotient. We also work on social quotient. But when it is the question mark of adversity quotient, actually we are not prepared for it. We don't learn much, and if we learn much, it is only for a short-term memory. So what happens then whenever we are getting some ups and ups in our embarking our journey on entrepreneurship, and everything is fine, we are self-motivated. But as soon sometimes if the time is not favorable, or maybe because of something, if some downs comes in our entrepreneurial journey, immediately if we are not ready for adversity, then it is very difficult for us to survive ourselves or to survive our business. So therefore, for sustainability of any business, the promoters, how much promoter is ready, how much promoter is fit for the solution or for the startup, this is also very important. So therefore,
So I like to add something here, sir.
Yes, ma'am.
So certainly there's no shortcut to hard work. Sometimes when we feel let's begin to work smart. So wo smartness nahi chalegi. You have to work hard. There is no shortcut to hard work. You don't become successful entrepreneurs, successful businessmen, or successful doctors by doing weekend courses.
Right.
They put hours and hours of hard work. So never shirk from hard work.
So therefore, as I was discussing, you must be knowing about the life of many of the entrepreneurs who are not successful. Instead of struggling back to their entrepreneurial journey, many times they feel depressed. So therefore, to motivate yourself and to motivate your team, that is for the vision. you need to have good entrepreneurial motivation all the time, which is an important asset when we talk about the entrepreneurial alertness. Ma'am,
Correct.
I'm thankful to you, ma'am.
Thank you
Yes.
so much.
Yeah,
Thank you.
Jasdeep ma'am is there.
Yes, yes.
Yes.
Dr. Arora, thank you so much, Guneet Sethi and Professor Arora. I agree what Guneet said. There is no shortcut to success. Sometimes when you see, a person at the top, and you feel like she must have or he must have gone that very easily. But the hard work that goes into it and the family that motivates, So yes, the students who are attending this course for entrepreneurship program, it is very important that you should not get, depressed because of, some unsuccessful results that come across your way. They are your stepping stones. The very first step you take for success in ladder is the most highest step. So the moment you're able to go over it, I think the rest of the ladder is easier to go ahead.
And you
So-
know, when you fall, there you will always have hurdles, and you will fall also. But every time you fall, you must look at your hurdles as learning moments, because I
Yes.
did that all the time. Because of the social stigma attached, challenges will come very often. But अगर हम उन challenges को डिटर्मिनेशन से आगे चलने का एक वो क्या कहते हैं जज्बा ले लें, इफ यू टेक दैट चैलेंज कि इससे तो ऊपर उठना ही है, then what happens is all your falls will become learning moments. And honestly, this is true, because I'm telling you from my heart, it works like this. And then when you've created a support system, they always come handy in such situations, because like I said, people will become your assets.
Right, ma'am.
Yeah.
Jazba se yaad aaya, ma'am. Actually, whenever I used to take any small session on entrepreneurship, means 10, 20 years before, 3 P's concept, this was always there in my mind. I never used to forget these 3 P's. So if it is new to the participants, please try to understand. Whenever you want to start your own business, first P is for passion. If you are not having passion means the motivation, which is coming to you and to your team members. And second one is this when we talk about our own this business, second term is patience. You should have patience also. And the third P is for perseverance. Now when we talk about the perseverance, it is the same thing, ma'am. Dridhta. That is what you were saying, that
Yeah.
Jazba of doing something. Yeah. So this 3 P, even if you want, you can also take it is also correct in present time also. With passion, and then after patience, and then after perseverance. And all 3 are in different three these goals of your successful business, 3 different heights. So and all of them, they are supporting to each other. It's passion, then patience, then perseverance. So if you have any question, I again give you a chance. If you have any questions, please feel free to ask. Maybe related with entrepreneurship, may not be related with this. It is a general discussion on motivation. Every day we are taking some challenges.
Good evening, ma'am.
Good evening.
Ma'am, my name is Shreya and I'm currently a student in IGDTUW only. And your session was so amazing. It felt like I was there at your TED talk. And I just wanted you to go on and not stop at all. And I was like, the moment it gets over, I'll just move on and start working on my idea. I'll just put something about it, think about it. So, ma'am, I had a question related to that only. Like,
Sure.
we could understand that you talked a lot about being personally attached to your goal, right, ma'am? So, ma'am, how do we take that journey? How do we get personally attached to our goal?
Okay, so yeah, so that has to be a little internal, because you have, like I said, your end product is the success, है ना? तो जब हमको success, if we are working to achieve that success, then जब उसको so I'll tell you what I do, okay? So when I know that when I started my journey, my second my second phase of life, because that's when I had most of my challenges. So when adversity struck me, when my vision was I was losing my vision, बहुत से remarks मिलते थे मुझे. I was a very, very outdoor person. What happened was that everybody started to tell me कि अब ये क्या करेगी, ये बिचारी क्या करेगी. It was as if बिचारी was stuck to my name. Now this became a big adversity in my life. How to break through it? The thing was that we are all social animals. We have to live in the same society. We have to live in the same family. अब सबसे झगड़ा तो नहीं कर सकते ना, उनको साथ लेके चलना है. Now I was determined that I want to prove to myself, to the world, कि अभी भी मेरे में दम है और मैं कुछ कर सकती हूँ. I was at that stage when I was not confident to go and ask for a job. Because of course there are a lot of, if I had tried, I'd probably got somewhere in a government job or something like that. But वो अंदर से एक confidence नहीं आ रहा था मेरे को कि I wanted to do a job. Now next, like I said, I said नहीं, मुझे फिर भी कुछ करना है. I really want to do something, and that's when this school idea popped up. Imagine when I shared that with my parents, their eyes were popped out कि हमने कभी जिंदगी में business नहीं किया, तुम school कैसे खोलोगी? I said no, I need to work out a plan for it. And because I was so determined to prove that I need to and I'm capable of doing something, that is how the bond started to develop. I started to getting attached. Day and night I was thinking, ki, acha, should I take some advice from XYZ? Or maybe she will be able to help me. Or maybe that uncle will be able to help me. मैं सारा दिन ये सोचती थी, and my only topic of discussion was how to make it possible. And so when I translated it into my passion, my well-wishers and my near and dear ones also started working towards my passion. Moving off, the burden started moving off, the challenges started reducing, and I became stronger and more confident that there is a possibility of proving that I am still capable of doing something. So वो जो एक passion को translate करना है ना, अपने साथ एक जोड़ना है, वो तो फिर तुमको अपने अंदर से एक that desire to achieve, वो एक अंदर एक it's a very strong feeling that comes from within.
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah, sorry, but I get very passionate about it.
Ma'am, it's an amazing factor. Like, you are getting passionate, and that thing is so infectious that here we people are sitting at our homes, and just via one conference call, we are like, we have to do something like this. Like, obviously, yes, ma'am. We'll not be able to reach.
And tell me when you do it. Put it there on my Facebook, okay?
Sure, ma'am. Definitely. We all would love to do that.
Yeah,
Thank
I'll
you
be
so
so
much,
happy
ma'am.
to keep connected with you and walk with you as you move on your journey.
Sure, ma'am. Thank you so much, ma'am. Thank you so much.
Thank you. God bless. Thank you.
Thank you,
Ma'am, I
Shreya.
have
Thank
one.
you.
Oh, sorry. May I ask a question, sir?
Yeah, Priya, please.
Ma'am, you've been a very, very motivational speaker today. Thank you so much for sharing your thoughts. I have just one query. Considering you mentioned that there are challenges that come up currently with the pandemic, which also you mentioned has put your school at sort of a crossroad, because I'm sure educational institutions are not open.
That's true.
Like Professor Arora, I'm also from the education field, and I know the feeling. How
Yeah.
are you looking at overcoming this new challenge that has been put up, or how do
Okay.
we start thinking along options of going ahead with our work apart from the online platforms, of course?
I know I'm such a non-online person, but I have no choice now. Yes, so my school is not really so I have limited, because my idea was to open a pre-nursery, right? So I don't have children who are older. I have toddlers in my school, which is about 3 years, 3 to 3.5 years.
Platform really doesn't work with them.
Absolutely. So what happens is that, fortunately for me, the pandemic started in the month of March, and by the time we had finished with our session, and the children were all prepared to go to their formal schools. And I did not begin with my new session, obviously, because the children are too small, but I have remained connected to the parents of my children.
Okay.
Especially the children who have passed out. We have a very strong WhatsApp group, and so has my staff, and we connect with them on a platform, in the sense we connect with the parents. We try to understand how the children are behaving, and we try and give them some tips on how to keep them occupied, because children don't come and I find it very silly to ask children to stand in front of a phone and listen to you. So we have tried to innovate it and tried to connect with the parents, and we have left that platform open, that if any parent wants to discuss a particular issue about their child, they are able to connect with us individually also. So that is one innovation that we have done to remain connected, and at the same time spread a word to the new. So we've just taken a call that we are not going to have a session 2021 session, and we'll hopefully, fingers crossed, start our session 21-22. But at the same time, I am using this opportunity to do my own capacity building. Right. Honestly, yeah. So because I have started doing some online courses, some pre-nursery, how can we be more creative with our children? And I am learning personally learning how to get more and more familiar with the apps. So, so today was another achievement, that I joined your Zoom session almost independently without any help. So that's one achievement. So I'm feeling good about it.
Ma'am, if I may ask you, considering that bottom line, it is about business.
Yeah.
In the school that you are working with, to maintain your staff through this 1 year as an entrepreneur, how are you going to be managing the capital?
Yeah. So
that's the issue I think all of us as entrepreneurs are worried about.
Yes. Well, that is a challenge, and I have had this challenge, and I'm facing it head on. But yes, since we are not, so I have about how many? So 50% of my staff is on permanent roles. So so we've taken a call, amongst each other, that when we sat down and when we decided that we are not going to have a session this year, we voluntarily decided that we will,
take pay cuts.
So for as long as we can, we'll take a break. But yes, we are doing 25% of the salary. We are still distributing, because I want to hold my staff. So the same money can be spread over a year, and the motivation factor remains. So that's the workout we've done, and it's mutually agreeable to everybody. because
So, ma'am, basically that means
teachers
the
are still
corpus-
spending their time to be online with the parents. So I
Right.
thought, something should be going. And yes, the kitty is getting depleted, but there's no other way.
That's true. Ma'am, the only reason I asked was because as entrepreneurs, this is one of the biggest hurdles we are facing. You
So
want to
here,
retain your
when I
staff
said,
and
so when I said you have to invest in people. So when the times are good and you have invested in people, and in challenging and in adversity times, they come in support.
True. Thank you so much, ma'am.
So for me, that's really what has worked in the pandemic. They came to tell me that, ma'am, we are okay to do without salary. It was I who said that this is the kitty I have, and we can work on this kitty by sharing it equally among all of us through this pandemic.
True. Thank you so much, ma'am.
So invest in people as much as you can when the times are good.
Right. Thank you so much, ma'am. Thank you.
My pleasure. Thank you. Bye-bye.
Thank you.
Thank you. Bye,
Thank you, ma'am.
Rahul. Thank
Bye.
you for your support. Bye, Professor Arora. Thank you so much.
So participants, I guess that you all are enjoying all these sessions. So if you want to have any issue you want to discuss with me. Otherwise, if everything is going fine, I'm also more than happy.
Sir, Vipin this side. Good evening, sir.
Good evening, Vipin.
Sir, one request, sir. The first session, there was a presentation given, sir. Can we get that presentation, sir? If it is possible, sir.
Lean
That's on
startup.
the lean setup, sir.
Lean startups.
Yes, sir.
Sure, sir. We will arrange it.
Yeah,
Yes,
please,
we will
sir,
get
because
that presentation.
that is something on which we